Hello, it's Lily, and I am back with you, finally. Been a bit of a hiatus there, and now I'll try to get back on my weekly schedule of making these videos. It's helpful for me too, and I hope it's helpful for any of you in the Altered Book Circle, or maybe even random strangers. Yeah, so where we last left off, we had done a lot of stuff. And honestly, I was thinking, like, what else could I even show them? I've shown them all my tricks. But of course, there's plenty more. So what I want to do today is dive into interactive-ish elements. More like 3D, not necessarily interactive, meaning you manipulate them once they're on the page, but more of a 3D where you have a flat image and then you want to add to it. You want to add elements that weren't a part of the image originally to make it more interesting, whether to make the process more interesting or the result more interesting. And honestly, over time, I mean, I did start out, I wanted to show you, this is my Oracle book, where each page has a woman and a quote of some sort, and then eventually each page came to have a poem. I sort of started out just putting, ignore this, I don't know what that spread is, but just putting, pictures of women in, and then over time I would come back to them. Like this was just a picture of a woman, and I would come back to them and add, we might have done this one together, add on elements. This person, the original image, did not have this earring, bracelet, and ring. And so I would like to do that with a lot of the women in this book. And then over time, I just got to the point where my spread, like I did all this at once, where the spread itself just included additional elements. So sort of like a fleur-de-lis collar here, or a Baroque collar, and then a flower piece over Elizabeth Warren's ear. This one I often get comments on. This is a necklace. So one thing that's good to have, well, first of all, I'll say that I typically do this on my pictures of women, though you could do it in any flat image. If you had a flat image of a landscape, you could add your own 3D-ish elements in. Often we're adding words on top of images. This idea is creating your own textural elements to put on top of the images. Here's one where I added a hat that I made out of little pieces of paper. And this one actually of Brooke Shields is a good example of not even adding anything paper-wise, but just coloring in her lips. And I had this, well, I think this opens. I had this whole series of her with different poses. And so all I did, they're black and white images, so all I did was color in her lips a different color for each image, just for some added interest. The other one I wanted to show you along these lines is somewhere in this book. Oh, it's this one that sticks out. This was another one where the original image is just this little part right here. And then it had, she just had, yeah, just a little bit of hair right there. And so what I did is drew the rest of this hair kind of coming off of her. And like in a really elaborate, obviously, you know, completely conceptual way. And that became also just sort of part of the overall composition of this little mini book within a book. So let's see, that's jewelry, hair, and sort of crown elements, I think is the other common one. I have one, if I can find it, yeah, where actually the crown comes off the page. And that's also something I like to do a lot, is, you know, add in smaller elements that don't conform to the confines of the original page. Sometimes that's annoying, especially if you're mailing books back and forth. And this one just kept getting so bent that I ended up folding it in. But still a cool idea. You can see this book has lots of elements sticking out, and that's a part of my aesthetic, is to challenge the confines of the page. Here's another one. This is one that I did recently with a picture of Jackie O, and just gave her this massive like pinwheel brooch thing. And I also made her, she had a scarf on in the photo, but I made it more textural by adding my own you know, pre-printed papers. I gave her a belt. So sort of taking that original image, which for me is usually an image of a woman, is often an image of a woman, and then, you know, seeing how we can add interest to that original image. And I think this is, I would classify this under, you know, so you've got the basic hang of it, and maybe you want to make it more interesting for yourself, maybe you want to make the result more interesting. But either way, there are small things you can do to just, I want to say, elevate a collage or a spread that you might not think about unless you saw someone else do it. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm working in this niche dictionary book that I've done a lot of stuff on these videos. I did this junk journaling spread with you guys, and I made some pockets in here, some mini pockets in this book. And now I want to see if I can, oh, and I also made this back here. I'd forgotten about that. My confetti pocket weird thing. Now I want to see if I can find an image, and I'm not going to do the whole spread on the video, but I'm going to try to find an image that fits the page that we can manipulate, and then later on I will go back and finish the spread. I wanted to show you, I keep a file folder of images of women that I like. Some of them are interesting on their own and wouldn't necessarily need to be manipulated. Like, here's a really cool outfit. But I will argue that I think in general, manipulating an image is always going to produce a more interesting result than just using, even if the manipulation is, you know, to use the head of one woman and the body of another, or top half of one woman, bottom half of something else. That's really cool. I wonder if this lady would fit in my book if she's too tall. So the only constraint here is that my book is a certain size. Ooh, I think she would fit. The other thing I have here are just catalogs, women's clothing catalogs, and they're always full of women showing off their clothing. And there's, these are usually a pretty good size for your average book. They're not like huge, like sometimes a magazine spread. Like this one here would be just about the right size for the book I'm working in. Let's start with this lady. So three elements we want to add. One is jewelry. One is some sort of crown or hair, like flower feature. And then one is hair. I think jewelry is what I'm leaning towards here because she already has on like a really cool outfit. An easy way to manipulate is using your paint markers to just, make marks on the picture. I'm going to cut her out more because I don't want this background. But even if I just wanted her orange outfit to be more interesting, I could give her like some polka dots or something. Just to add some color here. And this gets me going in the right direction. And then maybe just her, do I want a different color? Just her pockets. Is this working? Yes. I could just, or I could color her buttons to make the buttons. All right. So I've manipulated her a bit. See, it sounds, manipulation doesn't sound so bad in this context, huh? I also have a bright pink. Maybe we can add it. She's got a little handbag here, so that's another thing that we could always add is you could take a handbag from one photo and add it to a different photo. Or you could make a handbag. All right. And maybe I'll just go ahead and color in her handbag. I like coloring right on the images with these markers. They dry quickly, and if for some reason you don't like what you've done, it's easy to change. Okay, let's give these like a big dot or something. Something more interesting. I'm gonna put some little polka dots on her. That was probably a really nice handbag that I covered up. Also, her shoes are really interesting, but we could make them a different color. Does this marker work? No. The one that is already charged. Make them yellow. Is this working? I got new markers, new skinnier markers. Give me a second and we'll get these to work. I like the black and white behind her. That would give me an idea for the rest of my spread. I don't know if I like her on this page. I could put her on this page with the, oh well, here's a page of alt text. Oh, and it actually says tall. So that's pretty good. The word tall, T-A-L-O. All right, let's see if I can get some. I don't know if anybody's bought brand new paint markers, but this is how you get them going. Give them a good shake and then some dots. So now, do we want her shoes to be blue or yellow? Maybe yellow. Since I got the yellow working. All right, so I'm just gonna take glasses off, and I'm just gonna sort of draw the shoe as they have it, but with my yellow marker. Okay. Well, she's much more colorful now. Seems to be having more fun. These strappy sandals. There we go. She's already having more fun. I'll give her shirt, make her shirt yellow too. So she has a ring on her finger. We could make that yellow. All right. So she's already colorful. And then what I want to do is cut out this person in the background. So I only have my lady. Or anyone competing with her. I do want to keep some of the black and white at the bottom because I like that aspect of it. I'll just cut out the other humans. Okay, now I think, do we want to do headdress with her? No, she has like a really funny. I think what might be nice to do with her is some sort of head covering. Maybe we want it to be in black and white to call back to the flooring we have here. Black and white's fairly easy to replicate. And now I could also just, not just, but I could look for a headdress of some sort or a crown or a hat that I just want to pop on her head. But since we're making a video, let's go ahead and do something a little more involved in that, which would be making our own. And she could have like a really big hat, maybe, would be appropriate. And any bright colors would work. One thing I have here is one of these books that gives you stuff to turn into a collage. So instead of just cutting out of a magazine, you would go in here and find something to include in your collage. So I'm seeing some bright colored flowers. So that's something that we could make a headdress out of. I'm calling it a headdress because originally I was thinking like a hat or something. But these flower petals would make a cool hat, and they're the right color to go with our bright image here. Let's see if I can find one more option. There's tons. This is, I think, a nature, maybe themed with nature, so. Flowers, ooh, look at that flower. That was a little pastel for us. Ooh, this yellow is nice. This yellow would bring back in the color of the shoes. Oh, here's a spiky yellow too. Just pull this page out. These pages are supposed to come out easily. There we go. All right. I'm going to use, I like this bright yellow a lot. I said I was going to do black and white, and I'm not. I'm doing color, so. Likely I would bring in the black and white with the background, and then let the hat that I'm making kind of be the showstopper. Excuse me. And just to point out that I had a vague idea of what I wanted to accomplish, walking into this session, but I hadn't pre-chosen any images or textures. I just got out some random materials and assumed I would find something, because I always do. And I did. So there you go. And I'm just gonna try to use glue stick alone today, because I don't feel like washing out brushes. we'll see what happens. If this is a thicker, sort of a thicker paper, so if it doesn't stick with the glue stick, then we will have to switch to Mod Podge. Now, I said I wasn't going to make the whole spread, so I don't know. I do kind of need to go ahead and put her down so that I can attach. Now, I don't think I'm going to attach anything today. I'm just going to make the hat, and we'll be able to see what it looks like. Hearing a noise, I think it's a bird outside. I don't suppose you can hear it, but it sounds like almost like a woodpecker. Okay, so this is cool. I could see this actually like a sort of halo effect in the back. And then, do I need to make this, let me make this a little closer here. You can see what I'm doing. So that would be a cool kind of halo in the back, and then I could use the pink flowers. Normally I would be using much smaller scissors, but my small scissors are on a different table. And I don't feel like going to get them. I might have to with these very tiny petals. Basically, I'm going to have a lot of petals and need to fashion them into something resembling a hat. It's not that far-fetched. This isn't very abstract. Often, I wanted to play with this book, but often I will just take a pre-printed paper, like a monoprint that I did on a jelly plate or something like that, or just something textural from a magazine, and turn that into the elements I'm adding, whether it's jewelry or clothing or a hat. But flowers are always good to add interest, because flowers have really cool shapes, and these especially are drawn in a really cool way. So all right, so that's those three. I think I could just go ahead and divide these up into smaller pieces. And do the same thing here, and then I'll have 1, 2, 3, 5. I'll have about 8 petals that I can use to make a hat. And then I have these spikes. So let's see what happens to those. All right, so I want to put this behind her. Then I can go ahead and glue her to that. I'm gonna get a scrap piece here to do my gluing on, because the pages of this book are extremely fragile. And I'm gonna put her sort of at the base so this sticks up. Okay, and then I'm just gonna put glue all around that. You see what I'm doing? And I'm going to go ahead and start placing these. I don't know if this would be a hat or like maybe more like a crown of some sort, because this is going to be what do I want to do here? I want to do. Again, none of this is planned. And we might not like it. we might end up changing it if we don't like when we're done. What I'm trying to do is cover her hair a bit. Follow that kind of looks hatty. Hattish. If we go in that direction, let's do that. I'm going to take off this. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but I'm going to take that off and go in that direction. And let the curve of the petals and the curve of her hair inform what I'm doing a little bit more. And then the color doesn't matter so much because it's all going to look good, right? And then I have these sticking out. I am going to cut off a little bit of this white just to make this more interesting. I'm doing like a, that's the technical term, and asymmetrical design. I just wanted to design my own hat, and here we are, designing it. I would totally wear this hat, by the way. What's also nice about this is you're getting some really good, splitting these into separate pieces. You're getting some really good build-up. And again, that's something that brings interest. So it's not a flat image. Even the color is still flat, right? So adding these pieces on is where we're getting the basically architectural buildup of the image. It goes great with her face, the face she's making too. She's just like, what the fuck am I wearing? I love it. Okay, so that's cool so far. Now, one thing, I'm not putting, if I were to put her on the page, this wouldn't be so flimsy, which I am going to do at some point. I really like it going with the word tall, and look how good the top of that hat goes with the yellow shoe at the bottom. So we got really lucky on that image. Again, I didn't know it was in there. Okay, now I have some spikes I want to add in. Where do I want to add these spikes? I don't have the right scissors to cut spikes. Let's see. Let's see. I either have to get my other scissors or really... Oh, I know where I have. I have another pair of small scissors, maybe? No, they're not in there. All right, we're just going with big scissors then. So we're gonna do the best we can, which is all we can do. And I suppose we could do the worst we can, but that wouldn't be very fun. I'm not cutting these apart yet. I'm just cutting the spikes out to see if I like it as one piece or if I want to go ahead and cut them further. I'm thinking maybe I want to cut it at the very least, I might want to cut it in half and divide it somehow. And this would even be nice. It'd be nice to actually cover her eyes a bit, maybe, make her a bit more mysterious. Even though, definitely like the look she's throwing down right now. In our house, we call that the Lily look. When you give someone the what the fuck did you just say or do. You give them that look. It's called the Lily look. I've perfected it to the point that there's a name now. Feel free to use that in your own house. All right, I'm getting to the point where I really can't. These scissors are so clunky. Let this be a lesson to you folks to put your art supplies away And then they'll always be there when you need them instead of being on a different table in another room. I'm just doing the best I can. All right, I have my spikies. I like it. I mean, this would make, obviously, fabulous earrings, but let's stay focused on task. It's the wrong direction to really, if I want to use it as one piece, so that's an option. If it were one piece. I don't know. If we split it, I feel like I could use part of it. I like the idea of using part of it to cover her eye, maybe one eye. But we definitely need to split it because then it covers too much of the rest of the hat. And I broke that piece off earlier anyway, so I'll just get rid of it. All right. So now I have my tiny piece, and I'll just, let me see if I can fit it in here and just cover one eye. I need more glue. Again, the nice thing about using a glue stick for this is that it has a little bit of flexibility. So it's not like I put the image down and then I'm stuck. Which is an appropriate phrase to use in this case. There we go. I just trimmed that a bit. And then we're getting... Bad thing about glue is that it collects. Bad thing about glue sticks is that it collects little particles of dirt off of my fingers. Now what I need, I think, get her closer to you, is either to reposition. What I might want to do is just reposition. So what I'm doing is putting the yellow under the pink. And then I had thrown aside a pink petal, and I think I'm going to bring it back in so I can use, so I can cover. I need to cover one little area here. I'm being a little bit nitpicky, but the fun thing about this is, you know, I'm not trying to complete a 10-page spread right now. Like, I'm just making one image and taking my time to see if I can make something that I really like. And so it's a bit of a different process than something like junk journaling, where I'm throwing down as much stuff on the page as I possibly can. I think that looks pretty good. One argument here would be to dry fit all of this before you start gluing, to make sure you like what you're doing. But 'tis not the way of the Lily to dry fit. I just kind of jump in with both eyes closed and assume it's going to turn out okay. It usually does. All right, so we have a little bit of, like I said, like dust and stuff on here. That's okay, because once it dries, you can actually go in and just either scratch that stuff off, or we could do further decoration. I really like her now. She's cool. She was cool before, but now she's like really cool, right? So, what would I do to finish the page? We'll see. But I would definitely do something with the black and white, and then probably try to find, I like with these, with this book, I definitely like including the word, not covering up the word. And so maybe I try to find a poem on this side, and then the rest, I could do a black and white texture in the background. Not going to do all that now, because I want to go ahead and move on and show you something else. So that was Ms. Flower Head, Flower Crown. I'm gonna pin her in here so I don't lose track of her. And okay, we need another image. Notice that her crown is gonna stick up a bit. If I leave her placed like this, her crown will stick up a bit off of the page, and that's fine. That's an additional option with these 3D elements to see if you can actually extend the image off the page. Okay, Q. So what we want to do now is get another image, and perhaps we will make some jewelry. This one says thespian, so that would be a good one to do a mask for. The page itself really doesn't matter. You can literally do anything. Ebullience to boil over. Elegant. That one might work. We could do some elegant jewelry, at least try. At least trying to do some elegant jewelry. I might try to find a larger image and just use the woman's face. Because for jewelry, it's difficult if it's such a small image. I mean, here's an image where the jewelry is already fabulous. That's for a different day. You know, if there's too much going on in the image, then, like, she already has a really cool hat, right? Why would I add a hat for her? She's already got great glasses, so, I mean, I could either try to, you know, there's nothing wrong with maximalism, obviously. I could try to capitalize on that style, or pick a different image. It'd be nice to find somebody who needs a little pizzazz. I mean, look at these fabulous. She already has totally fabulous earrings. So I could use those earrings on a different image if I wanted to. Here's one where it's just a head, but can't see her ears, so I'm not sure it's gonna work. Oh, here's one of Adele. It is hard to see her ears, but that's actually might be the right size. So we could add in earrings or a necklace to this. Let's see if she fits. Oh yeah. And I like the title. The title of her is One and Only. So inevitably I'm going to be cutting off some of her wind-blown hair locks, but that's okay because I just need a little bit more space around her so that we don't lose our entire page to her. Sorry, Adele. That way I can still get the word elegant. I don't think I would get a poem out of this, but I could still get the word elegant on there when I paste her in. So I paste her down at the bottom. You know. All right, so, I mean, I could add a floral crown to pretty much every image of a woman. I'm going to go ahead and paste her in because with jewelry, the elements need to go right on top of the image, and I'm worried that if it gets really heavy, they won't stand up to the, like they'll tear the image or the page. So that's my thought process here. I'm just gonna put glue down here, mainly at the bottom where I know I'm putting the image. And then I'll be able to glue right on top of her and on top of the page. For structural stability, I guess is why I'm doing this. There we go. And really, I like the placement of her there, so I don't think I would, I think that's pretty much where I would put her. I guess the question is if you want background underneath your image, you would need to add that in now. But also, you could just be precise and cut it in such a way. I think I'd still be able to add in. I don't know why, but I was looking at this image and I just thought like bright blue. Maybe it's her eyes. I'm thinking like if I could find, or maybe it's that last image of jewelry I found, but like if I could find an image that was in this color, we could do a necklace. Should we try necklace and earrings? I think, let me go back to my cut paper pictures and see what we can find. I'm sure there's tons of blue in here because it's nature-y, like I said. In the back, they just have all of these just basically texture pages. Look at this. That's pretty. And those tear right out. Very easy. Ooh, there's another pretty. This is more the color I was looking at. Ooh, did you see that? Look at that black and white. Save that for my other black and white background that I want to make. Let's just do a quick going through and making sure that's what we want to use. The other thing that's fun is making 3D elements out of letters. I have these earrings that are that are the word love. So if you could find that, you'd have to find it twice, but then you could make earrings that say a word. I would have to go with elegant in this case. I mean, we have flower everywhere, so. But I don't know. Or you could do two different words, like, here's wild. Should we try it? I don't know if I sort of say I don't know if I have the patience for that today. For finding. I like these 4-leaf clovers. Those would make good fodder for a flower crown. Okay, so we have wild. We'll keep our eye peeled and see if we get another good. Or she could be like an 80s model and only have one earring in. Vegetable. See, now I'm not looking at the images, I'm just looking at the words. Butterflies. Fly, wild and fly. That's sort of a compliment if you're fly, right? That's an option. Festive, too long. I think we want to keep it under 4 letters. Bill, yeah. Let's go with fly. Oh, these little blue, see these little blue forget-me-nots? I don't know if you can see those. Forget-me-nots. Maybe we could use those on the necklace. Let's pull that out. There's just about the right amount. Spring, I'm looking for a 4-letter word that goes with wild. And I'm not seeing anything. Seaside, basic. That would not be a compliment, I don't think. Oh, look at this, a whole thing on lettering. That'd be fun to come back to. Happy, wild and happy. Do they like wild and happy or wild and fly? I'm leaning towards fly because I am that cool. There's lots of cool stuff. I think I found this book at thrift store. So have no fear. I did not pay 40 bucks for this or whatever the cost is, but they're kind of cool. I would just encourage you, if you get a book like this, to do what I'm doing and use the images, manipulate the images, you know, don't just cut out a butterfly and then put it in your page as a butterfly. Sometimes that's appropriate, and particularly if you're short on time, it can be a bada boom, bada bing kind of thing, but, you know, we're here for the process, so for that reason, I recommend you try to manipulate as much as possible. You're going to get more, I get more, I'll put it that way, out of the experience if I'm manipulating. Now I'm just cutting out a couple blue things because I seem to have landed on this blue color for whatever reason as my, ooh, here's a hydrangea. Let's cut that out. Cut that out. Why am I even using scissors? I can just tear it. Rip it out, rip it out. I just like this baby blue color. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because the shirt I'm wearing is baby blue. You can't see it. It's right there. More of a bright blue, but. Okay, so I've got a few different blue things here, and I've got a blue background. What do we want to do? We want earrings. I was thinking, oh, the earrings we're going to do words. So that's probably going to be the more challenging. So what I want to do is, the word is going to be vertical, right? So go ahead and re-glue these so that instead of being horizontal, they're vertical. And then once that dries, we can worry about how we're going to attach them to her ears. I'm going to get my brayer out because I feel like my hands are getting sticky. I like just using the brayer to get a firm seal on this glue. All right, so then there we have fly. Okay, we're gonna let that dry completely. I do want to do a video on using letters in your collages, so here you go. Part 1. And then wild, we're going to do the same thing where we just reorganize them. So that they're all attached to each other vertically. Okay? So there's the D, L, I did leave a bit of room between the letters, so that's fine. These are going to be some long earrings. Fabulous. Fabulous earrings. I get compliments on my word earrings every time I wear them. And I actually bought them at an art museum. I think they're based on a famous artwork. And it's not the Love one you're thinking of in Philadelphia. It was a different one. So now I have, just to make these a little bit more sturdy, I am going to put a piece of my artist tape on the back just to hold them together, because what I'd like to do is not have to attach the entire earring to the page, but just fasten like the top the way an earring actually would be. And what I'm going to do is just cut the excess off. You shall see. Can you see? Yeah, you can see what I'm doing, right? So this way these will stay. These will stay one word. but I don't have to attach every single letter to the page. Does that make sense? I do this a lot with my horizontal words as well. I put tape on the back and then cut around it so no one knows it's there. And then what I'm gluing to the page is the tape, which is much sturdier than little tiny letters. So there's one earring, and I have also a miniature, just happen to have a miniature hole punch that I can punch a hole in this with. How am I doing this? Here we go. I want the hole to be right in the center there. And there we go, we have an earring. Make sure you put the tape on the back before you punch the hole. I mean, to be honest, I could wear these earrings. Like, who says I can't? And then maybe I'll just do like a kind of a curve at the top just so it looks less papery and more earringy. Okay. There we go. I could do a curve at the bottom too, but I don't know if do I care that much? I guess I do. So they don't need to be this long. All right, look at that. One earring. This is cool. I didn't know I was gonna do this. See? 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 See what I mean? So fun. All right, next piece of tape. I'm actually gonna line this one up so I only have to cut it on one side. Cause I'm smart, cause I'm fly like that. That's where everyone groans. Everyone under the age of 48 groans when I say I'm fly like that. I understand. When you are old, you will say things that old people say. It is inevitable. Okay. This one was a little less. I don't know what the word is. There's a little less extra paper. So there's going to be more tape showing unless I trim it down a bit, which I will do. Again, these are paper earrings that I'm putting in a collage, so I don't think it's that important that they be like perfect. But they're cute. You could also, I'm just getting ideas as I do this, if you have letter stamps, like I do, you could make your own word earrings that way. And then, ooh, I almost cut off too much on the top there. Whoops. I can always add on more. My hands are dirty. Guess what I forgot? My clean cloth to wipe my hands on, my damp cloth. I almost did that too small. Let me see if I have room here for a hole. Yeah. These are micro hole punch. Now it's stuck. Anyway, okay. Lots of different ways you could attach this. I mean, perhaps the suggestion, you know, just gluing and the suggestion of it being, yeah, the hole would be enough. I mean, obviously you could also make a hole in your paper and tie something here. I don't know. Sky's the limit. You could also use wire, which I do have some of. I don't know. I'm not going to decide that right now, and I'm probably not going to attach these right now. But those are the earrings, and they're made. Okay, I also wanted to make, what was the other thing? I was going to make a necklace. Let's move these out of the way. Put these somewhere Lily won't lose them. Put them here. That'll give them a chance to dry completely too. What was I saying? Oh, you could take little letter stamps and the same idea, and then you could do any word because you would be the one choosing. Now, the forget-me-nots I like the most. But I want to see if I can just, you know, use them. Basically, I don't want to cut out each individual forget-me-not. I want to see if I can just get the blue from it without being so nitpicky and cutting every individual flower. We'll see what happens. I might get too much. If I did want to do like the idea of a bauble, meaning like something round, we just do that. And that kind of gets us kind of away from the flower shape. It's just a circle. Just a circle. And then I could use some of these other images I found because I can get circles out of them too. Circle, circle, circle. And then we'll have some variation in the necklace instead of it being all the color of the flowers. Another thing you could do is like sort of like a leaf shape. You could do ovals, obviously. You could do spirals. Depending on how much time you want to spend on this. If it were just me and the video wasn't running, I'd probably do, I don't know, I'd probably do spirals or something like that. But right now we're going to do circles because that's fast. I'm getting lots of variation in color, which is where the interest is going to come from. So I don't have to worry as much about the shape because I have all these different colors of blue. And I have different size circles as well, so. This would be a good job for like a ginormous hole punch, which I don't actually own. But we used to have one that was like a really big hole. And then you can use the what you punch out. Okay, that's enough of that one. Let's just get a little bit of this butterfly color in there, which also has some black, which is nice because it harkens back. That's not really a circle, Lily. These are circle-ish. Circle-ish. These are handmade wooden beads right here. And each one is slightly different because they're handmade. Okay, that's a lot of circles. I'll do a couple more. The only other thing we need is a chain to put these circles on. So, if I want it, it doesn't really matter if it's blue, I guess, because I don't think it's really going to show up. Again, I could use string, I could use wire. In this case, I think I'm just going to use paper because I just need something to attach these to, and it needs to go, just needs to like basically conform to her neck. Let's see if this works. It needs to be, I need more of a circle. Circle, circle. And oh, here we go. This image has a nice curve. So that will be, and it's a little thicker. That will be the necklace itself. I don't need all of this, but we'll cut it down to size. So, there we go. That's a nice necklace. So we only need like need like this much. And we put the beads on it, and that's your uncle. Have no fear, I'm not going to get rid of all these little scraps. Let's go ahead and just attach this to her. I think it's just going to be easier if I'm pasting these beads right onto her neck. Okay. I'm just making a straight wooden bead necklace. Nothing fancy. And I'm just going to try to vary what I'm putting on. I can try to be, what do you call it? Completely randomized, but it's not my strong point. I'm a very concrete thinker, so. This one, I guess. It's hard for me to go random. I do one more. I'll do one more little bead here in the center. I'll remove these. Oh, my phone's ringing. I have to answer it with you on it. Oh, just save that for later. I forgot to put my phone on do not disturb. It's been so long since I did a video. I forgot all the steps. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is her necklace. Now, it'd be cool too. What if there was like I had that leftover piece. Since she has so much cleavage here, maybe we just want to go all the way and make a bobble hanging down. There we go. And this gets us out of our conundrum of what to do with the rest of these little circles I got out. We're just going to put them on here. Almost looks like a torture device of some sort here. That's a cool necklace. I would wear that necklace. These could use some more gluing, but you get the idea. I have to figure out how I want to attach the earrings, but this is the basic idea. I want to put the earrings high enough that they don't look like they're a part of the necklace. That's the basic idea. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I did not need to use these. I could have just cut the circles out of there, but then they would have all been the same, so. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine. I might trim these a bit more too. Make them less. All right, but we will leave all that for another day. Attach these little earrings so I don't lose them. And we're on to our final manipulated, how would I say this? Manipulated element. Okay, get these to stick. So we did jewelry, we did a head piece. The final thing would be hair. So what I liked about that image, sample image I showed you, is that she already had like a pretty cool, like sort of thick mane type hair. And then I just added to it with, well, I just drew more hair basically. A little tidying up here. I have been so good at keeping my workspace tidy. It's crazy. It's like I'm not even me. Okay, so I need one more image and one more page to do the hair on Flamingo. We could make pink hair, potentially. I wonder if we could find a good, let me go to my catalog and see if I can find someone who needs more hair. Typically I use these catalogs for the patterns of the clothing. She could have pink hair, right? And I said there was pink in the image already, maybe. Then, oh, this is cute. She's got pink, but I already cut off half of her. I'm afraid I might have cut most of these images in half. Because I like just using the, it's a little small. I'm thinking like this size. I could give her pink hair. There's not pink in the image already, but there's blue. And blue goes with pink. She's got fabulous hair. Like a pinky orange. Oh, she's cut off. It's cut off. Sometimes this is the part that takes the longest, so I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. You know? So that makes it hard to find. I'll know it when I see it. Thinking like looking for an image that kind of okay. This is an option. This is an option. She looks very relaxed. She's wearing a shirt that has pink in it. Which is one of my criteria. She's already got some hair to play with. Shall we do it? The question is, what texture am I going to make the hair itself out of? We put her in here. Let's just go ahead and sort of cut around her. I don't know if I want to glue her in, because I definitely think this is the kind of thing that I would want and another texture in the background, but I don't know. I can't say at the moment. I do like that she's kind of sitting. She's casually enjoying her pink hair that we're gonna make her. So maybe one of those textured papers is the way to go here. Again, I'm gonna put her at the bottom because it just makes sense with the way the image is laid out. If we're making her hair, it seems to make sense to just, if we're making the strands of hair ourselves, it seems to make sense just to take the background and turn it into hair. Like, look at this. This is perfect. Perfect. Only reason we are doing pink is because the page is flamingo. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the pink here. Set the rest aside for later. I guess I'm going to have to glue her in, because how else am I going to attach this hair? What I'm thinking is Let's make strands of hair first, and then we'll figure out how to fashion them. Actually, have not ever done this before, because the last time I did hair, I just drew it. I think the last few times I've added my own hair, I've just drawn it onto the page. So here we go. We're doing it now. There's some darker pink and there's some lighter pink, which will make for good variation. In the strands, trying to cut them thinly. Basically just cutting according to the lines they had already drawn on the page. That's probably more hair than we need. That's a lot of hair. There's lots of variation in color and in width. Which is good. I'm just gonna cut some of these fatter ones down. And the thing you can't do with this kind of technique is make them wavy. I mean, I could. I had a lot more time. But let's keep it simple for today. And you guys can take the idea from here and roll with it. I'll just choose some of these thinner ones, as I think they look better. These thin pieces is going to be more than enough. And then my instinct is to cut these in half. Let's see. Basically, we could also do a thing where the hair is coming off the page. But I need a way to attach it to her. I'm calling this hair. I mean, this could also be a really fabulous headdress. There's some strands of hair, and all I'm gonna have to do is glue the tops on and then figure out some smaller pieces to kind of thread in, I think. I'm just laughing because this is so silly. So silly. Or I could attach. I'm definitely gonna need some smaller pieces to put over the crown of her head, because these are so straight. We could give her little bangs. That'd be cute. Okay, so what I need to do first is get these attached. That's not bad, actually. Hopefully you can see that. The way I like to do this is sort of the same way that I make little pinwheels. Is I put one down. I'm going to go ahead and glue her on. But I put one strand down, put more glue on, another strand down, and put more glue on. It works pretty well. I mean, you can do it up to a point, and then they're going to stop sticking. If you're doing like a really thick pieces of paper to each other, you might have to. That's fine. No, I don't want to lose her hand. You might have to use like tape or some other way to connect them. I don't want to lose her hand, so I'm moving her up the page a bit. Okay, let's attach this ridiculous hair. So we want to attach at the crown, and then I'm just I don't need to attach the bottom part. I'm just attaching the pieces to her head and mainly to each other. And then I can cut off whatever excess. I'm definitely gonna need my brayer because my hands are sticky. Yeah, I like the idea of doing the bangs since these are so straight. Sort of replacing her hair with this hair. You're not gonna be able to see. I don't think you're gonna be able to see her original hair. I did 3 on that side and then I'll try to do 4 on the other since again, this is like very, I wouldn't say tedious because tedious has a negative connotation, but you know, this is kind of fine motor skills type work that you might not always have the time for. But if you want to, you know, make something super unique, super special, instead of just junk journaling, I think both are valid and both are valid techniques, obviously, and processes. But they're maybe meeting different needs. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I just feel like really going deep into an image. But overall, like I said, the point for me is to manipulate and not to just say, oh, well, I like her shirt, so I'm going to put her in here. I mean, I could have manipulated this in a million different ways. In this particular case, I'm adding hair, but all right, what I actually want to do is I want this hair to curve. So I'm going to do another point of glue to make it come down like this, I think. I already sort of have some glue there. And this way it looks more like real hair and less like sun rays. This one doesn't want to stick to the top for whatever reason. I didn't get enough glue there or something. I lost my pink element when I did that, but we can fix it. So I'm making this look more like hair in a way. I don't know. Am I? Or am I not? Let's do another piece. Tons of these things to use up. Tons of these to use up. And I'm getting to the point where I have like a little knot at the top of her head. That's kind of where you want to stop with the piling on. If I did want to do bangs, it'd be very difficult. I could do it. Yeah, I could do a short bang. The bangs are going to be attached to her head because I don't want them going anywhere. So do a short bang. Let's not cover her eyes though. Okay, her eyes are definitely covered. This is sort of like, I don't know, Cher hair, I guess. Cher from the 1970s is what this hair is. And I am digging it. It's cool. Especially the bangs really add. Wait until you see. The bangs add a lot. In my humble opinion. The bangs are where it's at. Because that gives you the full effect. Alright. Again, I'm piling all this on top of each other. And hopefully it stays that way. This is something that will need to dry big time. Now, if I did like a hat, it'd be cool because could do a hat on top. I'm not gonna do it now, but I could do a hat on top. And then how long? I probably just want it to be like this long. You know, we don't need it to be. It's okay if it hangs off the page. We don't have a problem with that. Okay, now these, I'm gonna cut where I folded it. Let me start with the bottom one, I guess. I'm gonna cut where I folded so that I can flip it over, re-glue it, and still have the pink. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So I'm just putting a spot of glue right there. And then my angles aren't necessarily going to match up. That's okay. It's not architect school, it's art making. You can see you could get really lost in this. At least I could. To me, this is what process art is about, is kind of going on a journey and seeing where you land. One did not know when one started the video that she was going to be making pink hair today. And that's what I find so enjoyable about process art. Especially in books, because you just see what happens. See where you go. I got one more piece. We're almost done. Video will be coming to an end soon. And you can quote me on that. It looks absolutely horrific. I don't even know if it looks like hair, but it's cool. And that's more important. Give her a little angle trim at the bottom here. Those of you with long hair know what I'm talking about. And then maybe I'm gonna go ahead and cut these. I just don't want these hanging off the page because they're so thin. I got lots of good pink strips of paper to use in the future. It's kind of cool that they're not attached. I could glue them all the way down. But let me figure out what I want to do first. I think with a hat, this is almost believable. It's just the wildness of this. I probably would want those to be much shorter for it to be realistic. But hey, we're not going to do that now because the video is almost over. Anyway, here's our crazy hair. Picture it with a hat on top. It would look a lot better. It kind of looks like spider legs at the moment because I did 8. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the video. Thank you for sticking with me this entire time, if you did. And I'll see you next week. Bye.